There's nothing more that I enjoy than sitting back, chilling out, and catching some fish in video games. And there's a pretty unique stylized game that came across my radar the other day, which has fishing in it. It's called FlyKnight. FlyKnight's a little dungeon crawler, which takes heavy visual inspiration from games like old school RuneScape, but it has a fairly unique limb-based combat system, where you can chop off the arms and even the head of your enemies. The only real way to take down an enemy is by doing enough damage to the torso. You can either attack the torso directly, or when you hit the limbs, the damage will bleed over into the torso. And removing the head of most enemies will cause them to slowly bleed out. The game has quite a variety of weapons, armor, and spells to choose from swords and knight armor to clubs and onion knight armor. Personally, my favorite weapon to use is an actual swordfish you can catch, but sadly you can only catch it near the end chunk of the game. Speaking of fishing, this game has 11 different fish you can catch, and the cool thing about the fish in the game, when you eat them, they give you a unique stat bonus, and the bigger the fish, the longer the duration of the bonus. But if you want any of these stat bonuses, you need to get fishing, and to start fishing, you need to go get a fishing rod. And the way you get the rod is you need to talk to the fishing bug. You can find him just after finishing the tutorial, next to the peaceful lake. Just a few things of note, if you don't talk to this fishing guy, and you leave this area, you actually can't return. Luckily, there is a failsafe if you didn't talk to this guy. At the very bottom of your chest, there will be a fishing rod. Something else of interest, if you exit to the main menu and then reload into this area, the guy will give you another fishing rod. You can do this practically infinitely, and it takes about 23 seconds to do this whole cycle. And the game has a maximum of 185 slots you can put a fishing rod in. So if you've got an hour and 18 minutes to kill, you can spend it by putting a fishing rod in every slot in FlyKnight. I don't have an hour and 18 minutes to kill, so I just made a rod out of rods in my chest. After equipping the rod and pressing the 5 key to bring it out, you hold down left click to cast it. While casting, you'll notice a cast indicator. This is more of a suggestion. It doesn't actually land where you want it to, it bounces pretty far ahead. When you hold down right click, you'll start reeling it back in, and you'll get the attention of most fish in the area. If you click left click again, you'll fling the lure up into the air, losing the attention of most fish in the area. Now while the lure is in the water and it's still, the fish will begin to nibble on it. And after a few nibbles, one of them will finally take the bait. Now while they've taken the bait, you just gotta reel them in quickly. Reeling them in will drain your stamina, and once your stamina is empty, the fish will begin to drag you into the water. And I'm sure everyone knows this, flies can't swim, so it's an instantaneous death. Now onto fishing locations. There's only a few places you can fish in this game, and each have a small pool of fish you can catch. Now the first place you can fish is the peaceful lake. Now enjoy your time here. You're not going to find another lake quite like it in the game. There are 3 different types of fish you can catch in this lake, and one of them is the remalo. Now this thing, when consumed, will remove any poison status effects you have, and increase the amount of poison resistance you have, and by quite a lot. Like to the point where you're more likely to die to this thing trying to poison you, than to poison itself. But there is a small downside. You'll be poisoned for much longer if you manage to get poisoned while having the resistance up. Another fish that lurks in the peaceful lake is the melanuna. When you consume this little fella, he increases your stamina regen. He also seems to give you just a little bit extra stamina. Sadly, the effect is pretty weak, and I never really go out of my way to consume this fish for the stamina regen. The last fish you can catch in the peaceful lake is the musanana. After gobbling down this fish, you will slowly regenerate your HP. And I mean slowly. It took about 3 minutes to come back from nearly no HP. Yeah, this fish is kind of worthless. The bonfires in this game are really close to each other, so you never really don't have any flasks to use. I guess you can pop it before a boss fight, but I wouldn't be relying on the HP that this thing gives you. The next fishing location is called the Deeper Ruins Pond. Now this fishing spot is right next to the bonfire. You just need to follow this sign and go down this little tunnel and you're there. This pond is quite often glitched. I've noticed if you hang around in the area too long, the fish tend to get stuck underneath the water, so you can't actually catch them. If you relog the area, you should be fine. Once you're able to fish at this pond, there's only one new fish you can encounter, and it's called the Ropayes. What this fish is supposed to do is prevent pushes and knockback. And I don't know any instance of the game where you get pushed or knocked back. The only times I can think of it is when you're out of stamina and you throw a swing and you get hit. but after consuming this fish, you'll still fall onto the ground. So I'm not sure if this fish works or an instance where you can use it. Also, you can catch the remalo at this pond, and it's the only other pond you can catch it at other than the peaceful lake. And the next pond is the biggest of them all. It's called the Great Lake of the Swamp. This pond is so big you have 2 separate entrances to it. The 2 bonfires you need to go to access this lake is called the Swamp Ruins and Tower of Anticipation. A few things of note before you start fishing here. If you go down the elevator at the Tower of Anticipation, holding your rod out, it is near guaranteed to bug out. You can easily fix it by just switching to another weapon and switching back to your rod. Another thing of note is the lily pads. You can easily stand on them and fish off them. Just if they take any damage, they will break immediately. Once you start fishing here, you have 9 different species of fish to catch, and 4 of them are unique to this location. The first one I want to talk about is the pinina. Now what this little critter does when you consume them is they increase your physical resistance by honestly quite a reasonable amount. This fish can come in clutch during boss fights or even large amounts of enemies. Next fish we're going to talk about is the Pastinellus. Now what the Pastinellus does is it increases your attack speed when consumed. This fish is incredibly useful, especially if you use heavy weapons. The only downside is you'll drain your stamina a lot quicker because you're just swinging more. The next few fish are kind of a struggle to catch if you're at the Swamp Ruins. You can fully yeet your fishing line over there and try and get a few fish to come back, but your chances are pretty slim. Anyway, the next fish is the Lunagina. This fish kind of acts like a mana potion. When you consume it, you immediately get some of your mana back. And the bigger the fish, the more mana you get back. But on average, it's about 2 of these fish to fully regen your mana. Clementary is the next fish we'll be catching. Now this fish is just a HP potion, and the bigger the fish, the more HP you get back. Now these things only heal about half as much as a HP potion, but you get the HP back immediately instead of a slow burn with the HP potion. And it takes about 3 of them to get all your HP back.
Kindiguba
is another fish you can catch at the Great Lake. After gobbling down this fella, you slowly regenerate your mana. And yes, it is pretty slow, but this is the only real way to get your mana back other than sitting in a bonfire. So it's actually a really good option to consume this fish, especially during boss fights or just going from A to B, because you don't have any other real way to replenish it. And the last unique fish you can catch at this lake is the Lemamole. Now consuming this fish will increase your kick strength. Now a normal kick will move an enemy back just a little bit, but after consuming this fish, you gain the calf muscles of a fucking god, and you can send your enemies nearly 5 times further back. This fish is great if you're going for a full range build, because it allows you to have a lot of breathing room to attack them, and if they get close you can fling them far back. You can also catch the Musanana, Melanuna, and Walpayes at this lake. If you made it this far, I'm sure you already know what those fish do. There's only one fishing spot left in the game, and that is at the Ruined City River. Now if you travel up from where the bonfire is, you can catch the Lunagina in the water here. But if you travel down on one of these boats, you can catch another fish. And that fish is called the Espasota. And it's a very unique fish because it's a weapon. And it's a really solid weapon at that. You can easily use this to finish the final boss. The only downside to this weapon, it is a thrust attack weapon. So anything that's heavily armored or has a shield you're going to struggle with. But yeah, that's every fish in FlyKnight. I really enjoy my time playing this game and just going fishing. I highly recommend people go and give this game a try. The only downside to me is the game is only like 3 hours long and it doesn't have a whole lot of replayability. But it does have co-op, so you can mess around with your friends for the endless hours of entertainment. And the game is pretty cheap, only costing about $9 redo, which if you're being paid about $26 an hour at your job, will only cost you about 19 minutes of your time to get enough money to buy this game. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, like the video, and I have a few other fishing related videos on my channel, as well as some random food videos I do. But again, thanks for watching. See you later, champions.